Good afternoon, everybody. We live in a culture that quietly equates worth with usefulness. Productivity is rewarded, achievement is measured, and being busy is often interpreted as being important. Over time, many people begin to internalize a subtle belief that value must be demonstrated. But what happens when the ability to perform is suddenly interrupted? On January 30th, 2025, what initially seemed like a minor health concern escalated rapidly. Within hours, normal routines were replaced by medical tests, hospital corridors, biopsies, and surgery. 10 days passed by in a blur of urgency. Yet, the most destabilizing moment was not the diagnosis. It was a single thought. What if I never get to meet my daughter again? You see, she was miles away pursuing her academic goals. In that instant, productivity, schedules, responsibilities became irrelevant. A different question emerged. Can anything meaningful come out of this? Many people assume that crisis primarily teaches us about fragility. This experience, however, revealed something different. It revealed how easily individuals can become invisible to their own selves until interruption forces clarity. Professionally, I am a biology educator, so knowing and understanding how the body functions is part of my job. Yet, intellectual knowledge does not necessarily prepare someone for personal vulnerabilities. When the body falters, your identity comes into sharper focus. What surfaced in that hospital room was not just fear or loss. It was an encounter with worth. And trust me, that realization was quite unsettling. Not because others failed me or failed to value me, but because value had got tied up with being useful. Teaching, serving, supporting, meeting expectations, filling roles. Research in psychology also supports this pattern. In their 2001 work on contingencies of self-worth, psychologists Jennifer Crocker and Laura Wolf found that individuals who associate their performance with external validation tend to have higher levels of anxiety compared to those individuals who have cultivated an intrinsic sense of self-worth. When value depends on achievement, identity tends to become fragile. In conversations with students and colleagues over these years, a similar pattern has often appeared. Many high-achieving individuals feel secure when they are contributing, but uncertain when they are not. Their sense of importance or relevance fluctuates with output. During my recovery, something else became visible. The people around me reflected my significance back to me. My husband struggled to imagine a life without me. My daughter resisted the thought of losing me. Messages from students and friends, past and present, poured in with concern. Those became mirrors. Through those reflections came an insight. Often, we first recognize our irreplaceability relationally. They saw we see our impact through others and then fully recognize it in our own selves. But mirrors also depend on light. Circumstances change, roles evolve, and external affirmations can often fluctuate. The deeper transformation came later. Real self-worth is the capacity to recognize one's own value without any immediate response. Not because one is needed, not because one is admired, not because one is achieving, but because existence itself carries meaning. This idea can often feel counterintuitive in systems organized around measurable success. But think about it. If worth is granted only after achievement, then those who are still learning, a little uncertain, or temporarily paused may begin to question their relevance. In educational setups, I have often observed that students wait for confirmation before believing in their own abilities. A grade, a selection, a recognition, a positive comparison. Until then, some still hesitate to fully occupy their own space. Yet, relevance is not functioning the way we assume it does. In physics, there is a concept known as the chaos theory. In the study of complex systems, small changes in initial conditions can bring about significant differences in the outcome. Tiny variations can create far-fetching effects. Human influence can also operate similarly. A quiet encouragement, a single conversation, or simply a moment of presence. These may appear small, yet their long-term consequences are often impossible to measure. The common assumption is that people matter because they create impact. But it may be more accurate to say that they create impact because they already matter. Pause for a moment and consider this privately. When was the last time you believed you mattered without proving it? Without a grade, without approval, without comparison? For some, the answer may feel recent. For some of you, it may feel distant. My experience revealed a broader truth. Relevance is not earned through or given through exclusive outward forces. It is inherent. When someone begins to internalize that, even gradually, their choices often shift. They contribute not to secure worth, but to express it. They speak when they might otherwise remain silent. They show up with greater steadiness and steadfastness. They treat others with greater dignity because their own value feels less negotiable. This is how ripples get created in human society. Not from desperation to matter, but from the quiet understanding that one already does. Sometimes life interrupts us abruptly. And sometimes it simply pauses us long enough for us to notice. And occasionally, what it introduces us to is not loss or fear, but our own selves. Not as performers, not as achievers, but as human beings whose existence carries value, even before the next achievement begins. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, these were my 10 minutes. I'm Grace, and I leave you with a thought that each one of us carries great value and each one of us matters. Thank you.